Alright, hey folks, just a quick one this time because I realized when I was looking over my video footage that, or my past videos, I realized I never actually reviewed this particular pistol here, and that is the Ruger Super Wrangler. Yeah, look at that. That's pretty cool, huh? So the Super Wrangler, what is it? It's a, well, it's a 22 caliber single action style revolver that's, kind of supposed to evoke like your single action army type of replica feelings, right? So think about like your heritage Rough Riders and like Ruger single sixes, single tens, Bearcats, things like that, right? Kind of the same vein. But the Wranglers are, of course, Ruger's kind of more like budget line of those particular kinds of revolvers. Now, when the first Wranglers came out, I thought, hey, that's pretty cool, because they were asking nothing for them. I mean, you could find them for like 170 bucks, 200 bucks. It was very simple, kind of fixed sight, 22 little Plinker. And it was pretty much in direct competition with like the Heritage Rough Riders, which everyone and their mother had a Heritage Rough Rider. I mean, I had one for a little while too. I ultimately gave it to a friend of mine because, I don't know, I wasn't very pleased with like the build quality of it. Like it was okay. It was okay. It just didn't, I didn't really want to go and shoot it, let's put it that way. So I kind of, gave it to my friend, and he's having a whole lot of fun with it now. So, it's always nice that someone else can appreciate that. But I was really waiting for something more, and just wanted to see what was out there. And in this particular type of revolver, really the only nicer ones that had target sights like this were your nicer Rugers, right? So, or even like some of the fancier Colts, which cost a lot of money. But like your single sixes, single tens, right? Some of them have like nice target sights and stuff like that. But really, I kind of wanted more just a nice target style 22 revolver, and that's exactly what this is. Now, the other differences with the Super Wranglers is, of course, they have a 22 mag spare cylinder, so you can shoot both 22 mag and 22 LR out of the same gun, which I think is pretty cool. But in order to do that, the frame had to be beefed up quite a bit. So if you look at a regular Wrangler, which I don't have unfortunately, but if you look at a regular Wrangler and compare it to a Super Wrangler, you'll see that the Super Wrangler frames are just absolutely like way tougher, like thicker, and they're also all steel. So this thing is hefty. This is a heavy gun. Versus the Wranglers, which I believe have a aluminum frame, because it's just shooting regular 22. You don't need like a super strong frame for that. But this can shoot 22 magnum, so of course they need a stronger frame. So it is all steel. And with Ruger's casting method, this is a cast frame. You can absolutely tell by the texture and the finish and everything else on here. I mean, that's what Ruger does best. They do their investment casting very well, and this is no exception. Now, not to say that this is, like as nice as, say, like a Ruger single 6 or 10. It's not. It's definitely not. I can tell you that. But for the purpose of having your nice little 22 Plinker like this, it's certainly serviceable. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not as nice as the more, well, of course, premium models. What to say about it? So I've had this for quite a little while now, and basically right when these first came out, I was super excited to get a, kind of more budget-minded 22 revolver that had fully adjustable target sights, which this absolutely does. So you can see back here, I do wish I could swap out the front sight here maybe for like orange or like a fiber optic, something like that. Because my favorite sight picture is, of course, an entirely blacked out rear with like a red fiber optic front. So that would be nice. I'm sure there's some aftermarket out there now, because I mean, this kind of pattern here on the front sight really does remind me of the Mark IV series. So it's like a big base with a blade on it, and it has a screw right there, or bolt, whatever, that you can take out, remove, do whatever you want. And of course, I'm sure there's some aftermarket as well for taking out this pin here and putting in different rear sights and things like that. I'm sure there's some aftermarket for this. Ergonomically speaking, I mean, it's like a single action revolver. I don't find this particularly comfortable, and it's not really meant for your modern kind of two-handed grip either. I mean, it works, but it's obviously not designed for that. So this kind of more single-handed grip like this, where you can easily have your thumb back here and cock it with one hand and then be able to shoot again, like, yeah, that'll work. But it's not, of course, conducive to the most amazing accuracy if you're doing this one-handed. And especially with a gun as heavy as this thing gets weighty after a while. And you're standing out there, you know, holding it up like this, and you're trying to get a good side picture. It gets heavy after a while. So you wouldn't think that, because it's like, oh, it's only like 2 pounds or something like that. I can hold 2 pounds out at arm's length, you know, forever. You'd be surprised at how kind of shaky your arm will get after a while. But anyway, for a two-handed grip, it's okay. It's not great. I usually find my thumb kind of riding up here on the side of the frame right here. And in some cases, I've had light strikes because my thumb is actually riding a little bit on the hammer. So it's kind of, it's not really a good way to picture this, but you kind of see my firing grip right here, right? My thumb is like right on the hammer. And to me, this feels kind of like a very natural grip, but it's not the best grip because, again, it'll interfere with the hammer, and you can't get some light strikes, which is unfortunately an issue I've had with this one. Actually, is light strikes. So in both 22 LR and 22 mag, I've had just a string of issues with this having light strikes, which is unfortunate. You know, it is the nature of rimfire too, so usually the rounds will go off after I double strike it again, but of course you have to rotate through the whole cylinder and find it again. It's kind of a pain. So I don't know if that's endemic to all of the Super Wranglers or just the Wranglers in general, just having light strikes like that, but this one definitely has had its issues with light strikes. So I would never ever consider this for a defensive purpose at all in any way, shape, or form. Maybe not even hunting with it either, honestly, because it has not been reliable enough for me to consider it in something like that. But for range purposes, just messing around, screwing around, you know, it's totally fine. The other interesting thing that these Wranglers do that no other revolver I've seen like this has done with like a loading gate style revolver is there are no clicks in it, right? So there's no half cock on the Wranglers. It is either all the way down or it's straight up all the way back. There is no half cock, quarter cock, 4 clicks, none of that. So the way they do that for like loading and unloading is the actual loading gate itself. So when you open it, it turns the cylinder into a free spin. So there's no clicks. It doesn't go only in one direction. It can actually go in both directions, as you can see here. It just free spins, right? Now that's a pretty cool feature, I think, because that means you can load the revolver whichever way you want. And if you're really good at counting where your rounds are, you know, if you had issues with it, you could index it in the particular manner and get your round back exactly where you need it to be. The downside, though, is that because there is no clicks, when you're trying to get the rounds out with the ejector rod, you gotta line up those holes just right to get the ejector rod through the hole there. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to spin this thing and it's like, oh, well, you know, it's like, oh, it's over there and it won't go, so you got to move it back over here just a little bit to get the thing out, and so on and so forth. Just the whole unloading process can be a bit tedious in trying to find that little sweet spot where it's supposed to be. So with regular revolvers that have, you know, featured clicks and everything, it's already lined up, so you're just, you know, click, boom, click, boom, click, boom. You're getting those shells in and out super fast. But with this one, you got to be a little bit more careful and slow down and like really look in there and be like, okay, it's in the right position, and then you can get it. So it has its upsides and downsides, but I just think it's an interesting mechanic because I've never seen any other single action revolver operate quite in this manner. So it's interesting. And of course, when you close it back up, you rotate it into position, you're good to go. So the other good part too is swapping out the cylinders is super easy because you just take out the center arbor pin here, right? So you push in this retention pin here, which is spring loaded. Take out the center arbor. I think I got to take out the loading gate, but see if I can get it. It's a little dirty from the range, but there we go. So your center arbor pin here holds it all together. And of course your cylinder will just pop right out, just like that. This also makes it super easy for cleaning too, which is a big upside, I think. And then of course, if you want to take your other cylinder, just pop it back in. Kind of have to hold it in place a little bit, and then just get your center arbor pin in there, and you're good to go. Now we're in 22 Magnum. Super cool. So I'm gonna put the 22 LR back one back in because I tend to not shoot 22 Magnum hardly at all, and for a few reasons. So the accuracy potential and getting into how it's shot. A lot of people will argue that because 22 Magnum and 22 LR are technically different, very slightly in terms of their bullet dimensions and everything like that, that these kind of combo revolvers have issues with accuracy. And I'm not going to say it's not true because it certainly is, but the degree at which it will affect your accuracy, I think will vary quite a bit between, one, the ammunition quality, your skill, and the inherent mechanical accuracy of the pistol itself, right? So all those things taken together, I think it's kind of hard to tell necessarily how much accuracy loss that you are experiencing with something like this, right? So I haven't experienced super great accuracy with the 22 Magnums for any number of those reasons. The 22 LRs, I've actually gotten pretty decent accuracy. I mean, one group I got, it was like 1.9 inches at 25 yards. So that's pretty good, honestly. But in general, your accuracy mostly is going to end up like this. So this is, minus that flyer there, I think that's a 3-inch group at 25 yards. And this was 2 cylinders full, so this is 12 rounds on paper here. Just shooting offhand 25 yards with just some bulk ammo. So, certainly respectable, acceptable for sure. For any kind of plinking that you're going to do, I think 3 inches at 25 yards is more than acceptable. And like I said, my best groups I've gotten, 1.9 inches, 2 inches at 25 yards, which is, it's very respectable for a pistol, just, offhand. So, for the Magnums though, I mean, yeah, I'm getting like 3.5, 4-inch groups at 25. So I don't know what it is necessarily about the 22 Magnums that just don't shoot as well in this. And also way more light strikes on the 22 Magnums with this than 22 LR. So I'm not entirely sure why that is, but maybe it's just a quirk with this particular gun. It just doesn't like shooting the Magnums as much. Or maybe the Magnums are just not as inherently accurate. I don't know. But the Magnum accuracy too, I kind of noticed that on my other CZ457 rifle when I put 22 mags through that. Yeah, it's never quite as accurate as like 22 LR or 17 HMR. So whatever the reason is for that, it certainly carries over, I think, even to this. So, so accuracy, the inherent mechanical accuracy, at least a 22 LR, is very acceptable, good even. And I bet you can get some pretty decent groups because, I mean, heck, the sight radius on this is quite long, and fully adjustable sights means that you can tailor this for, any 22 LR load that you want. So you can have like your standard velocity, like match rounds, or you can have your high velocity CCI, like mini mags and stuff. You can do whatever you want. And that's probably the reason why I wanted these adjustable sights too, because, with fixed sights, where they're hitting is where they're hitting, and that's all you got, right? I don't like that kind of inflexibility. I like to be able to, zero my gun, and not have to do like Kentucky windage to figure out where I'm supposed to aim. I just like the sights to be on. So that was really the big selling point for me with this gun. As far as the trigger goes, so this trigger is not the lightest thing in the world. It really isn't. Even though you consider like, oh man, well, it's a single action gun. It should have a nice light trigger. That's not necessarily the case with this, and the reason for that is for 2 reasons, I would imagine. One is probably because due to the budget nature of this, they're not going to like take a whole lot of time to make the trigger super nice. And the other reason is because you do need a certain amount of like hammer spring energy strength to make sure that your rounds are going off reliably. And I imagine that's really more of a case. They want to make sure these things are reliable with rimfire rather than a centerfire, because rimfire, of course, has their reliability issues. So I don't think I'll be getting a trigger job on this, because after a certain point, when you lighten up the mainspring, hammer spring in here too much, it just becomes unreliable, and then it's just not fun for anybody. So I think that's really the reason why the triggers are as heavy on these things as they are. That's not to say it's not shootable though, because of course it is. I mean, like I said, I got some great accuracy out of these things. It's just it's not what you would call like a super duper match trigger, like the really lightened up triggers like you'd find on your 1873s and stuff, like people use for cowboy action shooting competitions and stuff. It's not going to be like that. So, but then again, I don't think people are really expecting that out of the price point that these things come in at. I mean, I think I paid like what, $250 for this thing. So, I mean, for what it is, right? The price point that it comes in and what Ruger's trying to do with these, I think this is totally acceptable for what it is. Yeah, good even. I certainly think this is way better quality made than your Heritage Rough Riders for sure. 100% way better than those. So people are looking for like a cheap 22 LR revolver, target revolver. I think this is a very, very good candidate for that. And you know, it's again, it's not as nice as the higher line, better produced, more quality Ruger single sixes and tens and stuff like that. But hey, you know what? For what it is, I think it's pretty handy and pretty good. So I do like it. But yeah, I just remembered I never actually reviewed this, even though I've had it for such a long time. So yeah, I took this out recently and had a good time with it. And you know, for a nice Plinker single action style revolver like this, it really slows down your pace of shooting and really kind of makes you just slow down and kind of enjoy the experience a little bit. So it's always fun to hit what you're aiming at, right? So this one definitely makes it fun. So yeah. Then of course too, you know, people who are out there like on their ranches or property and stuff, you want something with a little more power, you can use the 22 mags to do whatever you need 22 mags to do. And of course it is nice to pair this with like a nice 22 lever action, 22 mag lever action, you know, and kind of get the little bit of the cowboy experience, right? But I don't think cowboys had fully adjustable sights like this, but you know, it's cool for what it is. So anyway, I thought I'd bring this to you guys, and you know, let me know what you think about these. If you never tried one, I definitely recommend trying one. Even the regular Wranglers, I think, are pretty fun. 22s in general, I think, are just fun, and you know, this would not be a bad candidate actually for like my other video I was talking about for choosing your first gun or a gun to train people on or to get training yourself to get the reps in. This wouldn't be a bad choice, I don't think, honestly, because yeah, even though it is a antiquated style of manual of arms, you know, you can still get the fundamentals out of it, and it's still fun to shoot. So, and of course, fun is a big factor of why I you know, shoot some of these guns. So yeah. Anyway, figured I'd bring that to you guys. Let me know what you think, and yeah, take a shot yourself and see what they're like, because I think they're pretty good. Cool. We'll see you next time.